My name is Jason Votrobek. In 2014, I was convicted of distributing millions of pain pills in a drug conspiracy. And this is how crime works. The George brothers, American Pain, they were our competition and we stole their patient list. So we got all their contact information. I walk into the office and our people are just making phone calls. And they're telling them, hey, this is American Pain. All out-of-state patients are going to be going to Jacksonville Pain from here on out. If you show back up at American Pain in West Palm Beach, you'll be discharged. The next day, I just see two vehicles pull up to the front door, a Range Rover and Mercedes. I said, so get ready. So we grabbed our guns and the doors open, all these dudes come in. So I pull out a gun and I put it to his head. And he actually calls the cops on me. So they start investigating us. What is a pill mill? A business that is a front. It's a white coat doctor front for a drug business. All they're saying is that we're hiding behind a doctor's coat to run pills. Rather than you see a drug dealer on the corner, we're actually putting drug dealers in lab coats. I hate the word pill mill. The reason why is I didn't feel like I ran a pill mill. I ran a business that the government allowed me. A pain management clinic is a business just like a doctor's office. So you go see a doctor and they treat you with medicine rather than through like a chiropractor or surgery. You're gonna try pain management, which is oxycodone, Percocets, Vicodin, stuff like that. I was in the cocaine business during the 2000s. Beginning to 09-ish, somewhere in there, I was done. During my cocaine days, I had a close friend of mine that I grew up with, Zach Rose. 3-4 months after I got out of the cocaine, my phone rings and he says, listen, dude, I went to the strip club last night and there's this guy in there just absolutely just blowing tons of money. He owns all these pain clinics. And his name is Vincent Colangelo. I was telling him that I already doctor shop at his clinics and I bring a bunch of people and all this other stuff. And he's like, dude, you need to get out of that. You need to come and invest with me and let's run this operation. And he's like, everything that he's got going on, like it's legal. You can put the money in the bank. Like, you know, you got to get your license. You got to set everything up. It's all legal. And then he takes me by one of the clinics, Vinny's clinic off of Commercial Boulevard, 995 down in Fort Lauderdale. Walk inside and they got all like the certificates and all the things on the wall and doctors and patients and like it's chaotic. And I'm like, this is crazy. This thing is running downtown Fort Lauderdale right in front of everybody. Cops are driving by. You go inside, you got like a waiting room with the windows and a hallway to the doctor's offices and, you know, and all this stuff and in-house dispensary. So you could see the doctor and get your pills in the same spot. Like it's not a normal doctor's office. So I'm like sitting there looking at this stuff. So now the wheels are turning. I'm like, this is crazy. Like, this is absolutely crazy. And he's like, trust me, we're gonna do it the right way. So I'm like, okay, I'm in. I like these words. As long as we're gonna do it right. And he goes, Jason, we're gonna do it right. I gave him the money to invest in with Vinny, to invest into his clinics. He had so much money, but he needed another 50,000. Zach's plan was, he's like, Jason, I'm gonna make a copy of every form, learn this in and out, everything. I'm already started the process. He said, I'm gonna stay around long enough to figure out the ins and outs and we're gonna go do our own thing and we're gonna do it legit and not have to worry about the stress and worry about if the doors are gonna get kicked in because of all this drug activity going on. In Florida, they had the rules, the laws where you could have a pain clinic and then run an in-house dispensary under the doctor's 222 forms. So they could order pills and sell them in the same location. So it was a win-win. We write the scripts, right? And they go to CVS and Walgreens. If there's an employee there that is just absolutely against this, they're reporting you, they're calling law enforcement, they're declining to give your patients meds when the doctor is a legit doctor, is allowed to do it, they can decline it. So it's red flag in the business. So having an in-house dispensary, you eliminate that. You control everything. So you write the scripts and sell them without nobody else knowing what's going on and how much pills they're getting. We have high school diplomas, no college degree. We don't know nothing about the medical field. So eventually we pull the plug and we're ready to go. So we go to Jacksonville, Florida. And the reason why we go to Jacksonville is because in South Florida is where all the competition is. Everybody's doing it in South Florida. Well, everybody's coming, most of the people are coming from out of state. Tennessee, Kentucky, Ohio, Virginia, all that's the biggest hub. I mean, they're coming from all over the place, but your biggest hub is that area. So we were thinking like, why don't we cut them off? Save them 6 hours from the state line to Fort Lauderdale, 6 hours back, it's 12. We're like, Jacksonville, perfect. As soon as Vinny found out what we're doing, he cut Zach off and didn't buy us out or nothing. We lost everything that we had there, which was fine, whatever. We had I had money put away. So I invest even more money into Jacksonville Pain is the first one we start. Back then, they were getting doctors off Craigslist. And so what we did is we ran an ad, we got the building, we built it out because we wanted it built out so in case a doctor want to see it, we can show them. So we run some ads, we get a bunch of hits. We're creating these medical facilities. We're gonna lease the room to these doctors. That's gonna be our selling point. Like, we're not doctors. We're gonna put the money in the buildings, the advertisement. We're gonna bring patients to you. You're just gonna rent the room. And it worked. You have a lot of doctors that are 60, 70, 80 years old, okay? They had great practices. They made a lot of money. They didn't know how to manage their money like most doctors don't. They were just family doctors. And their practices went under, or they got a divorce, or they were running low on money, or they needed a part-time job and they wanted to make more money. They're an employee of Jacksonville Pain. We 1099 them. They're subcontractors in a way. Each doctor has a 2-2 form registered so they can fill out to the DEA to get medicine. So we would use their 2-2 forms and we'd pay them extra money to be able to house medication in our in-house dispensary. So we'd have to give them a cut of it. Pharmaceutical companies, distributors will only give them so much per doctor. Like, it's like one of those things where if I owned a pharmacy, I could get an unlimited amount of pills. But in-house dispensary, they're kind of like, it's not monitored that well. We don't want to give you too much. So you have to build a relationship with these people. There's an unspoken rule, like, don't prescribe more than 240 pills per patient for a month. An average doctor probably sees 25, 35 patients, and a higher end doctor will see around 40, 50 patients a day. We want to stay within these guidelines, and people are like, well, you're just doing it like a cover for your drug operation. I mean, you could say either way, however you want to look at it. But I never once told our doctors what to prescribe, what they could and couldn't, or how much to prescribe. We charged extra for them to fill pills in our dispensary because they're gonna pay extra to have the scrutiny to guarantee to be filled their scripts. Writing the scripts pays the bills. The in-house dispensary is 100% profit. So if you didn't have an in-house dispensary, you wouldn't make very much money, maybe $6,000 to $9,000 a day. I mean, that's a lot of money, but not $100,000 a day. The scripts would cover paying the building, overhead, employees, pay the doctors, buy the medication. All of it by writing the scripts. Literally 100% profit of the pills. We had an ex-DEA agent over the pharmaceutical part. He was 20 years in on the DEA. He retired and became a consultant. He understood what the DEA was looking for in the rules because this stuff was so vague, it was not even funny. There was no black and white print of what you can and can't do. So nobody knew what the rules were. Nobody knew what the law was. Every day we're doubling. So first day, say we had 50 people at the door. Next day we had 100 people waiting at the door. Before you know it, with the weekend, before we get there at 6, 7 in the morning, there's already 200 people lined up out in front of this place and we can't control it. We have to hire around-the-clock security. I knew that this stuff was bad and I knew what it was doing. But what separates me from Big Pharma or whoever approves me to do it, if you're gonna allow me to do something and give me a license to do it, for somebody that has a mindset like me, I'm gonna do it. I'm not proud of it, but I'm a criminal. Does that make sense? The person that was using the pills is 50-50 guilty. They came to me, I prescribed them, that's 50-50. Just like in the Coke business. I had the product. I didn't put nothing in nobody's head and say, do this. They came to me, that's a 50-50 transaction. I'm half the problem, they're the other half. So you can't put more blame on me as the person that's using it. When we first started building it out, we wasn't advertising, we didn't do nothing because we were trying to still collect money from Vinny's operations and not get screwed out of it and still be in there to learn as much as possible. And what we did was the George brothers, American Pain. They were our competition. So me and Zach were like, I don't know who these dudes are, but they're the biggest in the industry. Let's steal their patient list. Let's show them who's the boss is in town, the new warden. This is where our young minds, dumb minds come into play. So we were gonna hire a stripper to go in and work there and print the list out. Come to find out, that was impossible because too many eyes inside. wasn't able to do it. We found out where they were getting all their MRIs. So they worked a deal with this guy named Pete Tyndall. He owned a portable MRI machine. So it was a semi-rig. And he would put it behind strip club parking lots and places to where he could run it 24 hours a day. And strip clubs are open all night and nobody would pay attention during the daytime. So people would go there 24 hours and get scanned, and he would send them over to Thailand, Philippines. They would read them and come back, and he would print them out. Come to find out, majority of them were fake. People were paying extra to get fake MRIs. They were all the same MRIs. He did all of American Pain's MRIs. So we worked to deal with Pete to give us his patient list, everybody that went to American Pain. So we got all their contact information. We were gonna call them and just say, hey, listen, we're a new pain clinic. We open up in Jacksonville. We could save you 12-hour round trip. You don't have to go to South Florida no more, blah, blah, blah. No, I walk into the office and they're all got their feet kicked up on the desk and they're just making phone calls, like 6 of them. And they're telling them, hey, this is American Pain. All the outside patients are going to Jacksonville. We're gonna save you a round trip. We're gonna do this, blah, blah, blah. You're gonna get the same thing you were getting down there, everything else. Everybody was like, wow, like they were so happy, couldn't wait. And first day that we finally opened, we show up like 8 o'clock in the morning to open the doors, and there's already 50 people in line at the front door. And the George brothers realized that a lot of people didn't show up, so they started calling them. And they realized that they're like, oh no, we're at your pain clinic in Jacksonville. And they're like, what are you talking about? Well, the very next day, they tried to send somebody through. We caught them, kicked them out. I followed them down the road, seen them get in the car of George brothers, Chris George in his car. And I came back and I told Zach, I was like, that's one of Chris George's people. I said, so get ready. So we grabbed our guns and the doors open, all these dudes come in, and they were asking for Zach. Zach was behind the counter. They ran up, Chris ran up to him. They started getting into it. The other 3 guys were out in the hallway with me, and they were running their mouths, threatening, saying they're gonna do all this stuff, and I just started laughing. He asked me what I'm laughing at, and he's like, I got some for you, and he acts like he's digging his pockets. I pull out a gun and I put it to his head. And he actually calls the cops on me. Feds show up, they take them to jail, and they tell them that that is their pain clinic, that they invested money in it, and that they wasn't there extorting us, that we were supposed to pay them their percentage. They were there to collect money. So the feds are thinking like, how did we miss this clinic? Like, what do you mean? We've been watching them and we don't know nothing about this clinic. So they started investigating us. We thought it was kind of funny that we were gonna hire like hot chicks to run the front desk. So Zach and I put an ad on Craigslist saying $20 medical office job an hour, send pic. You can't get away with that today. I didn't realize it was gonna be the worst thing that we ever did also. The girls were accepting bribes, you couldn't control them. Guys would come up and be like, hey, I wanna pay $50 or $100 to bump my file to the top of the list. Well, if guy after guy does it, so the guy that started bumping the second or third, he keeps going down because they keep putting more things. So now this guy's complaining. So I fired all the girls. And we brought in somebody else to manage it like that. Zach came in, got mad, fired all of them, brought the girls back. And that's when I knew that was just going wrong. Zach had told me, he was like, Jason, I had to do what we had to do. And Zach was just like, took money from everybody and was promising everybody the world. He just lied, he didn't care. He just wanted to ride around in his Ferraris and Lamborghinis and helicopters. Zach wants to be the top dog. He doesn't want nobody else above him, nobody had more than him. So he wants everybody to look up to him. So he's the type of person that takes money from 10 different people and gives everybody 10 different pieces, but he's the hub. There was this guy named Roland that was in my indictment, and he was brought in through somebody else that invested from down south. He knew the ins and outs. He's the one that had the connects with the pharmaceutical companies. You couldn't get an account with them without somebody referring you and getting you in the door. When we were having so many problems and we couldn't keep a Jacksonville clean and running right, because Zach worked against us every which way we could. So they brought in Roland to clean up the operations, fire everybody, clean everything. Roland fired everybody. Zach was mad because he was banging some of the girls. So Roland's like, I'm done with this, I quit. We went from very first day counting $25,000 to $50,000 a day to over $130,000 a day, bringing in profits. So we're walking in with $150,000 a day, and the banks are freaking out. Within weeks, the banks are like, we can't do business with you no more. Come get your money. somebody put us on game like, start having a bricks truck. Have the bank that you're dealing with, have them come pick up the money so they see the business, there's a location, and it doesn't look like you're selling on the corner. That saved us. So we were able to start putting money in the bank. At first, we were putting every penny in the bank because it's legit. We wanted to claim every penny. And then we started to learn to not put every penny in there. It was legit, legal. We had attorneys writing up the business things, doing all of our paperwork, accountants in line to take our money. Nobody had a problem. Nobody cared. Wide open. Now everybody wanted to be involved once we started making money. Everybody, like literally, one guy from down south has his 2 guys show up with a briefcase handcuffed to one of the guys, slap full of cash. We were making so much money, and to the point where we were bringing in $4 million a month in cash. In my hype, I was getting around probably 800, somewhere in there, 1,000 a month. At the beginning, I played a day-to-day role of make sure the doors were open, the doctors were there, they needed what they needed, any supply, stuff like that. About a month in, once I realized that we had an office manager and we had it set up, everything like that, my day-to-day role was nothing. We were talking about going to Georgia because what we wanted to do was shorten the drive down even more. Florida was becoming a hot spot and we wanted out of there. The deal was that I was supposed to be a percentage of every clinic. Well, I found out Zach was doing it behind my back and was bringing somebody else in, and I was going to be cut out through somebody really close. And because he'd already took money from somebody else and promised him, so that was their deal. So I was like, well, that's fine. I'm going to do my own operation. So I offered Roland a percentage owner in opening up pain clinics for me and doing it the right way, that I was walking away from Zach. So Roland likes to do things right. He's never been in trouble, never nothing. He agreed to come on board. And so I started investing money into researching and the laws and stuff, and he was running the whole deal, and we started to build an empire. I was the only one that backed it with funds, hundreds of thousands. We came up with Atlanta Medical Group. It was gonna be more downtown, but we ended up doing a north side off 75 in Ackworth, Cartersville area. And it was a nice building. We called it Atlanta Medical Group, AMG, like the Mercedes. That was our logo. I had it professionally done to the T, like a real medical place, really nice. And I was not gonna cut costs nowhere. I wanted it to be top notch, the right stuff, right everything, did it all the right ways. We set everything up. And our operation wasn't crazy. We didn't have lines. We didn't have people wrapped around things. We didn't have to have security like that. We didn't have to have none of that. And that's the difference between running one where you don't have a partner as a drug dealer business owner. Our goal was just to open up 3 or 4 in Atlanta, and we were moving out to Hollywood. We were moving to Missouri, Texas. We had attorneys working on all over the place. We had a little harder time opening because the patients knew that I didn't play the same game that Zach did. So I had to almost start over on patients. They were trying to bribe, they were trying to give tips, they were trying to do all this stuff, and the word got around the drug dealers and the patients. They knew that in order to get more pills, they had to lie. And they would literally, they have videos, the DEA had videos of them walking across the street with crutches, getting out of the car with crutches, people helping them to the door and a thing. And as soon as they walk out the door, they throw the crutches in the back of the car and get in the car like it was nothing. And I'm like, but they lied. And they said, yeah, but y'all should have known better. We had 3 doctors on every day, and we were doing good. It took a while to grow. We grew the right way. All my doctors were found through headhunters. I did not hire none of my staff. I paid people to hire the staff. I paid people to hire the doctors. I brought in somebody named Jesse. He was a very good business person. I thought I could trust him. Roland was the guy that was gonna start all the businesses, all the things, and then Jesse was gonna come in to oversee them, make sure that they're running right, my eyes and ears. I gave Roland 25% for running the whole operations. Jesse eventually bought in the other 25% to oversee my operations. I got money coming in, I'm making tons of money. My monthly spending's around maybe $250,000, $300,000 a month. Everything's going good. Then we learn through this whole process that the pain clinic business is coming to an end. The DEA and the FBI is breathing down everybody's throats. They're starting to pull patients over. They're starting to harass your patients. They're starting to do all these things. So we hire an attorneys and them to go meet with the DEA to see how are we not in compliance? How can we be better in compliance? They said, it's not our job. They're like, but give us the rules. Where's the rules? We want to see what the rules are to this industry. And they said, we don't have to do none of that. We'll let you know when you break them. How about that? That's what they told us. So I told Roland and Jesse, I was like, let's shut this business down. Like, let's just done. And Jesse, I'll never forget, Jesse's like, we can't do that to the girls. They depend on this stuff. That's how they pay their bills. Let's just keep it open a little bit longer, because I was going to get into the pharmacy business. I was going to shut all the pain clinics down and just go straight pharmacies. One of our pharmacy techs, her dad had a pharmacy, couple pharmacies, I think in a local area. And then when CVS and Walgreens or Rite Aid came in, they were buying up all the mom and pops. And he held out, and they paid him good money for holding out. He's like, yeah, he's like, I would set up shop within a block or two of every CVS, Walgreens, or Rite Aid and step on their toes. He goes, I would compete with them in prices and everything and make all your patients or advertise to all the pain clinics that you will sell to sell pain management meds. And he says you would be able to make enough money off of that to give everything away else for free to step on their toes. So now I don't have to run this operation no more. I just put a couple people in there, run, you know, a manager, 2 pharmacy techs, somebody run the front desk selling all the supplies and stuff like a CVS, Walgreens, like that on a smaller level. And I get unlimited amount of pills. So now I can sell more pills and fill more scripts. Who knows how much money I was gonna make. I was planning on to start at least 50 plus to make them buy me out for $50, $100 million. I had 10 locations under contract, all within blocks of a CVS, Walgreens, or Rite Aid. And I had 2 of them that were about to open, and I was doing one or two at a time, and then the feds came before I could get going. I grew up in a small town called Vero Beach, Florida. It's known for cattle and citrus. It was a small town. It's about a little over north of West Palm Beach. So back in the 80s, Miami was a hot spot for drug smuggling. Well, once the Everglades in Miami became really a hot spot, they fly the planes past Miami. Tampa to Vero Beach is straight across Florida. It's like the cutoff on the fuel support. So they would go down on waterbed bladders. So they would take the bladder out of a waterbed and fill it full of fuel and fly down on that. They would land in Central Florida because it was all cattle, citrus. It was in the middle of nowhere, small towns. Everybody was on payroll. You can buy everybody. So that was made it such a hot spot for drug smuggling. And that's how like my dad and everybody else got involved. My dad wasn't directly involved. They offered him, but everyone in his circle and friends became drug smugglers. When I was a kid, I used to sit behind my parents or my dad. They'd be around campfires, drinking old Budweiser in a can, smoking old marbles. And I remember sitting around the campfire listening to my dad's buddies talk about drug smuggling. And that's what got me excited to it. And I just remember being this little kid sitting behind them, listening to the adults. That was the coolest thing ever, talk about their drug smuggling. I started to get into the weed business at a very young age. 14, 15 is when all my buddies started smoking pot. So I seen that there was a market in it. I've been in trouble with the law before that, just doing like regular kid stuff, trespassing, just fighting, doing dumb stuff like that. But the first time ever being arrested was stealing and stolen property. I ended up going to juvenile prison over it. Late 90s, early 2000s, like 99, 2000, somewhere in that era. My sentence was supposed to be a level 6 program, which was supposed to be like 6 to 8 months in Martin County boot camp. I ended up having a hard time. Like it was really, really rough. I go into this prison system where they're all called state babies. So they're raised by the state. Dad's in prison, mom's a prostitute in the streets, grandma wants nothing to do with them. Their dates came and gone. They don't care about nothing. So if they see you have visits, get commissary, a family and stuff, like they just do everything they can to ruin it. And they just run around and try to up each other on violence and just doing the craziest things for no odd reason. I was at the level 8 in Okeechobee, Florida, and I remember us walking, our unit was called for chow. And I remember we were going to the main line to go eat dinner. And we went by this other unit, and for no odd reason, this other kid just picked up a brick and started smashing this other kid in the head. And I think the first hit like kind of knocked him out. And he was just on top of him, just smashing his head in. And there's 2 female staff, and they didn't even know what to do. They didn't want to touch him, so this kid's just getting his head. And all the kids are just like standing around laughing like it was a joke. And I ended up finding out later he did it because The other kids dared him to do something or whatever, literally just smashed his head in. I ended up catching 7 or 9 more battery charges while I was in. So I went to 3 different juvenile prisons, and I was not able to work my way out. I ended up timing myself out. Once I turned 18, I kind of like settled in where nobody messed with me, and then I ended up getting out right before I was 19 years old. They released me because I was going to age out. The state doesn't do anything for you. They don't give you no help, no nothing. They literally just kick you out and say, hope you do good. Like literally you walk out the gates, no help, no money, no nothing. It's set up for everybody to fail. It's up to you. I went through this stage of this juvenile thing where I came home, I was like, I'm never breaking the law again. If prison's like this, I want nothing to do with it. 6, 8 months goes by, you're living life, you forget. Just like an ex. It was really toxic, wasn't good, but you always give it that next shot after some time. You forget about all the bad. So my friends graduated from doing smoking pot to cocaine. There was like a drought going on or something. I didn't know much about the coke business, but my buddies were complaining. My next door neighbor was this female when I lived with my brother, and this guy would come over all the time. And I never forget, he drove this Dodge like on 26s, a truck. And I'm just like dope boy written all over it. And I was like, hey man, can I talk to you? And he's like, yeah. So I hit him up and I was like, I noticed that, I can tell what you're into. And he's like, yeah, what's up? What do you need? I'm like, my boys want an A-ball. So I get it, I take it to them, and they're like, holy this is good. Like, this is fire. Like, you can get this, we want more. So I gave him some more, and I'm thinking, like, why am I doing this for free? It wouldn't hurt to make a few extra dollars. Like, I'm struggling. What I did was I took an 8-ball, and I put a little bit of cut on it, short to bags. I made 4 grams out of 3.5. So I made an extra $50. I did that twice within a couple hours. I was selling ounces by the end of the month. And you gotta remember, timing's everything. So I have some of the best product, my prices are great, and it's unlimited. And there's a drought. So all my competition right now can't find nothing really. One thing led to another, and it just continued. And then, me thinking like, it'll be fine. I'm only gonna do it for a short period of time. This is not gonna be something I do a long period, just short. It's like an addiction, grabs you, gets really addicted, then money starts coming in, and you're like, yeah, well, let's just make 30,000. Then let's make 50,000. The money is not as so addictive as the lifestyle, being involved in everything. The power is what I call it. Within like the first 3 months, I started pushing kilos. I started at the very bottom, I was pushing kilos. Some months I can make 75,000. I'd say 35 to 75,000, depending on how much product I was able to get. I had a big clientele where I was like a high-end people where I was selling grams and 8-balls. Like a good month, and everybody paid me, and I didn't get shorted or somebody get busted or get hit with my products. I can make $75,000 a month easily. I would literally call my guy up and be like, hey, listen, I need to get up with you. When I say get up with you, that means I'm ready to re-up. Once they leave, I'd break it up, put it in a package, and then I would call them back and be like, hey, where are you at? And then I would drop it off or have one of my guys drop it off. It's a simple process. It's not as complicated as they make it as like in the movies and stuff. There was a family in Florida, I think Port St. Lucie or something, off the side of the Florida Turnpike. A whole family was executed. Husband, wife, and the 2 kids, a Mexican family. And rumors had it he stole like 60 kilos from the Mexican cartel. Once that happened, which was crazy, like my connect and all them disappeared. So I was like, what in the world? Like, so when something big like that happens and you understand how the game works, you get the hell out of town because the heat's coming. So I am pushing 3 to 5 keys, sometimes a week, sometimes a month, depending on like how, because my clients would go elsewhere if I couldn't get it in the right amount of time or whatever. One would be good, one would be garbage. They would put just coke on the top, represses, and I'm like, this is a repress. But I was so desperate, I was buying this stuff and I was losing my clientele because of the quality. Whatever they choose to cut it with, they mix it so they can stretch the product. So you take a kilo, turn it into a kilo and a quarter, a kilo and a half, and then they put it back in a press and repress it. Getting a kilo from actual like Colombia or straight from the main source, they come with like a thick rubber vacuum seal. So think of like my truck inner tube. So inner tube, so a bicycle, but semis, they're really, really thick. Like you literally take a razor knife and cut it 2 or 3 times. And they vacuum seal it with that first. And then they wrap it with the tape with the label on the top of it. So when you get one that actually has that like thick rubber, like inner tube, like sealing on it, you know you got a real brick. In the stamps, Also, if you go and look at pictures, you'll see like the stamp is like rounded when it goes down. When they stamp it down, they're kind of like rounded. And they have like a wood grain look into it, like a mesh. Represses are not gonna have that. I'm paying $28,000, $32,000 a brick at this point. I'm making no money, and it's not even that good. At the very beginning, when in my Mexico, I was paying around $18,500. And that was a really good price. Went to like 22, 23 pretty quick, but then it kind of capped out. I think most I paid was like 25 at times. I gave up on United States. I realized I wasn't gonna find it. Nobody wanted to give up their people. People hold on to it or they're just lying. So I was like, well, let's go back to the 80s. Everybody was getting from Bahamas. My family had a house in Bahamas. I didn't go to the island my family has a house on. I stayed away from there. I went to Freeport, which is La Calle. It's a tourist spot. I started talking to some sources I know, and they're like, bro, dude, like, I know people that are getting 50, 60, 100 kilos out of there in shipments. Like, it's there. So I was like, so they're really, like, smuggling is a thing? They're like, Jason, it's never ended. Just remember, there's more drugs in the United States than there was in the 80s, because there's more population now, more drug use. He's like, so how do you think he gets here? Smuggling, it's the easy part, I feel like. Finding the connect has been the hardest part at all. I was like, well, I'm not giving up. There was this guy. He kept like strolling the block on La Calle, kept riding around. We see him all the time. So we're at the restaurant hanging out, talking to him. And I'm like, man, why is it so hard to find stuff here? And he's like, oh, I don't know what you're talking about. Like, not, you know, didn't know if we were agents or what. And there was this room, this door, and everybody kept coming in and out of it. I'm like, what's back there? And he's just like, what do you mean? I'm like, what's back there? Why does people keep coming in and out? And he goes, you police? I said, man, I empty everything. I'm like, I ain't nothing, dude. So Bahamians are not allowed to gamble. There's casinos on the island, but the Bahamians are not allowed to. So he had all the underground gambling. So he had all these locations, and he had these little back rooms that had like slot machines and all this stuff, and he was running this underground gambling thing for the locals. And so I was like, so you know people? He goes, maybe. I think I paid $13,500 for it. I was like, they're going for 32 back at home. I said, that's a good profit, and I don't even got to do nothing. I can just sell bricks and make good money. I was like, listen, I want 5, 10 at a time. He said, not a problem. There's probably 15, 20 other people over here doing the same thing. Like, once you start going over there enough, you start realizing, you're looking around like, holy shit. Like, these are the same faces here every time. I'm like, what are they doing? He's like, what do you think they're doing? The same thing as you. I ended up getting a source in the Coast Guard. I grew up with somebody. I kind of had somebody ask questions on like, where y'all patrolling? What's going on? Somebody close. And I was paying him to ask questions as a close friend. If it was really good information, be like, hey, listen, we're patrolling. We're next couple weeks, we're gonna be patrolling off of Freeport. We're surveillance in there. We know some stuff going on. That was a $5,000 payout. I would at least make it worthwhile. Like, thank you so much. This is 2006, 7 era, you know, time 2005 to 7. At this point, we're moving 5 or 10 at a time. I had custom dive tanks made. So what we do is we take the dive tank right off the bottom, because you got these little black plastic caps that go in that lock them into little things. And we'd pull them off and had a machine shop cut them precise. And then they would weld this thing in and put these little O-rings and all this stuff in these little pins. So we'd pop them apart, and then they weld a bladder in there. So you can leave about that much out the top and still have air, and the gauge would say that it had so much pressure in it, and you could and have air. And we would be able to fit 3 to 5 kilos, depending on how I broke them up and shoved them in each one of them. I had known somebody that was a drug smuggler, like when I was a kid. So I hit him up. I was like, how did you do it? Like, what's going on? I knew I could trust him. He says, if you're gonna do small amounts, do not hide it in your boat. Don't do nothing. Just put it in like in a net bag, put a little bit of weight in it. He says, if you start seeing them come in, throw that thing nonchalant overside the boat. Don't put enough weight in it to where it'll go straight to the bottom. He says, or not enough weight to where it floats. You want the current to carry it as far as possible, to where it doesn't just go straight to the bottom. You got to remember, the Coast Guard and U.S. Customs are not going to pull you over in the middle of the ocean. They're going to wait until you come out of international waters, because they know where you're going, right? United States. Well, once you get out of international waters, back in United States water, the water is only like 60 foot deep. So, you know, if you throw it over and go straight to the bottom, what are they going to do? They're going to dive down there and find it. So I would come across like I was fishing the banks all day, not even go to the island where it showed on radar that I was going, and I was going to swing in and dive down, grab the dope. I don't know if you ever heard of, they're called weed lines, where the two currents come together and it pushes all the trash in the ocean into like these weed lines where the two currents come together. I would have a tracker on the boat, And my guy that was fishing these weed lines would be out there, just come out and start fishing all day long. He knew what day I would come back. And I would come, and once he seen me activate that beeper, the tracking device, he would see it on his thing. Okay, this is where he's at. And I would just ride by, not stop, just throw the dope over. And the beacon would be there. He would pick up the dope and keep fishing throughout the rest of the day, and I'd come right on in, empty loaded. When they're watching the satellites and the radar, they just see a boat going out 10, 15, 20 miles fishing all day just like everybody else. They don't see him intercepting a boat out there where 2 boats pull up on it. He didn't go to Bahamas. So they're not watching him. When I was in the cocaine business, I literally lived like a bum. I would have like a decent vehicle. I lived in a small house because you have to play the game. How am I gonna be living in something big and don't have nothing to show how I got it? That's the best thing, to get gossip and people talking about you. And I just did a podcast with the law enforcement guy, and one of the main reasons why they never really came after me is because I was so quiet. I wasn't loud. Somebody was always willing to take that spotlight from me. So I never spent no money really, didn't really do much. I had a lot of hidden investments, doing stuff like that behind the scenes. I invested into medical marijuana and a weed operation out in Colorado and California. So we were making pretty good money at the time. But when I got out of the game, it was so depressing because you don't realize the excitement, the thrill, and how you had that needle in your arm stuck the whole time until you get out of it. Now all of a sudden your phone's not blowing up. You're not the popular guy. You ain't cool no more. Somebody else done took your place. When I tell you the day you get out of the game, it's like within 20, 40, 48 hours, who are you again? Jason who? And it was kind of depressing. I mean, it was days I couldn't get off the couch because I was so addicted to making money. Now I'm not making that kind of money. Like I had this little loan sharking thing, some other stuff going on, but it wasn't until I got in the pain clinic where I can actually be like, hey, where are you getting your money? Oh, I have this pain clinic. The money's in the bank now. I didn't buy stuff cash. I was swiping a card. Swipe, swipe, swipe. There we go. It was the root of all evil. That's when we started buying Ferraris, Lamborghinis, $20,000, $30,000 nights in strip clubs, laying in helicopters where we wanted to drop them at. My average monthly spending between all my bills and operations was $250,000, $350,000 a month just to survive. Just the racing alone. I mean, we were going through so many race motors and race cars. I mean, that race car was a $500,000 race car, a drag car, 6-second outlaw. It was just JV Racing Motorsports. We didn't have no advertisement on it. We had a $500,000 in the car and it hadn't even made it down the track yet. The motor alone was $101,000, just $100,000. And every so many passes, it cost another $14,000 just to freshen it up after so many passes. Tires, this, that. My daughter was born 8/13/08. So beginning to 09-ish, somewhere in there, I was done. It was over with. I had enough money. And I was just at the point where I was just like, it's not worth it. Once I had my daughter and I come home and I held her after the last go around, I told myself I was done.
How much do you think you had at that point?
It's hard to say because you got assets, cash, bank accounts in the millions. I had millions. The day the George brothers showed up is when our investigation started. End of 2009, beginning of 10, they put a task force on us. I walked away from Zach. I started the Georgia thing and moved on. Wasn't months later, all 3 pain clinics in Florida got shut down by the DEA. I'll never forget, I was going to get pump gas. And Zach calls me and was like, hey, is your bank card working? And I'm like, why? And he's like, dude, I tried to use mine this morning and it's not working. I can't get no way to return my phone calls. And we haven't talked in a while. Like, we're not friends. Then we find out that the Florida clinics got hit and they seized all our assets, all our businesses, bank accounts, everything was shut down. I really have no money in cash. I invested into all these other businesses. I've forked out tons of money in these pharmacies, the medical marijuana, the fertilizer company. I've got money out everywhere. I had $300 in my pocket. Atlanta Medical Group, every penny went into the bank. They seized that. So Florida seized that because it was tied to Jacksonville. I didn't want to tell nobody in Georgia all my things. So I only brought my office manager in and was like, this is what the deal is. So we're going to start up another bank account. Luckily, we had enough pills in there and everything going on to where we could stay afloat. We just got a shipment of pills in. They were bought and paid for. So the clinic is still operating. People are paying in cash. So at the end of the day, we have a pharmacy full of pills. Doctors are writing scripts. At the end of the day, we got a stack of cash. I already hired big time attorneys. They're all telling me that indictments will be coming. They didn't arrest nobody when they raided all the clinics in Florida. I finally get this good attorney and he goes meets with the feds. He comes back and he says, "You're gonna go to prison for a long time." He says, "No matter what you do." And I'm like, "Really?" He goes, "Yeah. They're gonna make a political statement out of y'all." And I'm like, "Okay. So what's my options?" He says, "You can shut your Atlanta operation down and everything else and just wait for them, or you can keep that operation up and running, and the amount of time you're gonna get down here and they'll run that concurrent and nothing else will happen to you, and just stack as much money as you can to make sure everybody's taken care of." This. If I'm not gonna get no more trouble, let's double down. Let's go as hard as we can to stack. So that was the operation. And I couldn't believe it. They let us go for another like 16 months. And they finally raided my Georgia clinics. When we got indicted, the DEA said that how they did it was first they looked at the top 10 prescribing doctors in the nation. Between Vinnie Colangelo, me and Zach and the George brothers, we had probably the top 25 or 30. So that's how big they had to go to figure out where it ends. We went to the top. Now we're the top purchasers of oxycodone in the nation. The Florida case was my problem. Florida case was the bad one. That was the one that I didn't think it was impossible to win. So Florida case is the one that had all the drug dealers, the bribes, all the bad stuff, everything you can think about. It was just absolutely bad. Everybody's cooperating. Everybody. Doctors already took plea deals. Zach's cooperating. Everybody's cooperating. Everybody's admitting it was run bad and everybody knew. My good friend Brooke was my personal attorney on all my legal drug stuff. She told us, "You don't talk, I'll get you out anything you want. Just shut the hell up." And I'm complaining to her. I'm like, "Brooke, these attorneys this, attorneys that." And she finally was like, "Listen, Jason, I don't mess with the feds, and there's a reason why I don't play with these people." She says, "I'll take your case and your case only. I have a good mentor that'll help me through this." So Brooke takes the case, and it's just absolutely horrible. It's so bad. And we get into it, we fight. There's times that she was in tears begging my family for me to take a plea deal at times because she didn't want to watch me go away for life, because it was a life sentence if I was found guilty. Because there was deaths involved, ODing that I wasn't charged with, but it was just gonna be bad. It was gonna be setting an example. I'm fighting both cases at the same time, right? I wasn't even arrested for Florida yet. I got arrested in Georgia first. While I was getting pulled over and tracked by the cops and they pulled me over, I'm on the phone with Brooke, like, "Brooke, they got us." I said, "There's so many agents here, got us pulled over right now." I get bond, I'm out, I'm at a strip club doing work. My phone won't stop blowing up, and I finally look at it, it says, "You've just been indicted in Florida. Drug conspiracy, oxycodone, and money laundering. They're all the same." She built the case off of painting this picture that everybody was looking at so much time that they would say and do whatever it took to get out of trouble with Zach's phone calls. Zach is talking crazy on the jail phone calls, talking about, "I'll say and do whatever it takes for me to come home. I don't care what I gotta say. Whatever they want me to say, I'm gonna say it because I'm coming home. I ain't doing all this time." And we got those phone calls and Brooke was like, "Let's do this." After a month-long trial, 7 people cooperated against me, got on the stand. Brooke absolutely just obliterated them during the trial with the recordings and everything else. They all took plea deals. He messed up. He was supposed to only get a small amount of time, but playing in recordings, he got more time. So I was found not guilty, and that's unheard of. I was supposed to go to trial 2 months later. They postponed it because they didn't have no witnesses. They didn't have nobody cooperating against me yet. Jesse finally folds. My office manager folds. So I go to trial. I was found guilty. I got 15 years in federal prison. So I appeal it on double jeopardy because they intertwined. I got denied all the way through until I got out. Purdue Pharma is the company that created OxyContin. It's owned by the Sackler family. And people don't really understand that. They think that it's only people like dope boys on the streets or drug dealers like me. But no, it's not. It's people in suits, people in ties. Pill mills are an issue in the U.S. is because the sole purpose, the ones that were doing it illegally and pushing the pills were doing it just to put drugs on the street, and they were getting in the wrong hands with the wrong people. People were getting medication, large amounts, and the doctors wouldn't monitoring it right, so they were getting addicted. And once they get addicted, they were having to go and sell them on the streets and lie, steal, and do stuff to continue their addiction. And that's why it became a problem. Purdue Pharma lobbied Congress to pretty much exempt them from prosecution. They pay fines, we do time. Purdue Pharma and these other companies, they knew it was an issue. They know they lied. They know they manipulate. You can read the reports. And they did it for the sole purpose like a drug dealer on the corner, like Frank Lucas did here in New York. They sent their main guys down to educate our doctors, and they left that part out. They say, in order for this to pass, it has to be under a certain percentage of dependency, which was a lie. They're telling our doctors, well, if they're saying this, you prescribe them that. Like on the bottle, it says, this is how you prescribe it, this is what you do. Doctors only know what they're being told from these big companies. Most of these doctors were set up. They were doing exactly what they were taught and told, and then they got prosecuted because people were getting, it was ruining their lives, like gambling, sex, everything else. And let's just say that everybody else paid the price for their profits. And instead of going to the source, the head that's created this issue, which is Purdue and the distributors, people that was teaching our doctors and telling them what to do, and we're the last, they can't go no higher than us to just to tell America, look what we're doing. We're fixing the problem. Just like the cartels. They take one head out knowing that the vice president of that cartel is going to become the head of the cartel. Knowing it ain't gonna do nothing, but they get to do this nice press. Look what we got. Look, we just took out the 3 biggest pain clinic pill mills. But meanwhile, there's still 600 pain clinics still owned and operated in the southern region when I was going to trial. I knew it was really bad. That's why I didn't want to get into it. I knew it was really bad, but then at the same time, it's like they're allowing you to do it. It's like casinos. It's like gambling is a horrible thing. We allow it. It's very addictive. People lose everything, destroy their lives, but they still allow them to do it. Is it right? No. But is it legal? It's legal. It's a moral thing. Right is a moral thing. It's like, this person has addictive personality. Why would you do drugs around him and taunt him? You know what I'm saying? That's right or wrong. Legal is something that I'm allowed to do it, but it's not really right. Like, we shouldn't be doing these things. Just because it's legal doesn't mean it's right. You know what they were doing? Investing their time with our doctors, making sure the doctors were happy, making sure the doctors were prescribing, making sure that any questions they had were answered. The doctors, you got to remember, they were their own people, 1099. They were, subcontractors. So if they wanted to meet with the reps, that's their 222 Form DEA registration number. That is their business. It's just a game. It's the code, it's the game. You can't get in this game and get mad because they paid and they got the connects, they got the pool. I mean, you can still get oxycodone, and now you're getting fentanyl from the doctors. What they did was they made doctors not want to prescribe it, but they're still doing it. It's still out there. It's just doctors are scared because they were giving them so much time. They changed some of the rules, like in-house dispensary, you can only dispense like 3 days at a time or whatever, but you still run a pain clinic and write scripts and make money. Nobody cares about your health. When they allowed me to do what I did, me, Zach, Vinny, George Brothers allowed us to do what we did, it showed America that they didn't care about your life at all. They don't care. They allowed criminals like me, because I'm a criminal. I'm not gonna lie, I've been a criminal my whole life. When they allowed somebody like me to do this and know that I was a drug smuggler and I was a known criminal, somebody's been to prison, what makes you believe that that's changed their thoughts and how they believe and think? Think about that. When COVID hit, they locked all the prison systems down. Once they did that, and COVID was so bad in the prisons, so bad. It was weeks later, they called a town hall. And they're like, okay, guys, listen, anybody who meets these requirements, we got to start filling out this paperwork. You're probably going to go home to home confinement for a short period of time. So I stay out for 3.5 years on home confinement. Trump did the thing during COVID. I got out on home confinement, and then Biden gave me a clemency. I got some really, really high connects and FAM. So I was introduced to somebody that is really high ranking in the prison reform thing. Clemency got rid of my prison sentence, so no longer on ankle monitor. I'm able to do what I want to do. Travel. I was on probation afterwards, financial, because they hit me with a $4.3 million fine. You know, they monitor my finances pretty regularly. They said that I buried $8.8 million and then they negotiate down to $3.9 million. So I'll tell you this, I didn't even know the amount. So how the do they know it? They take a percentage of what income comes in. So it can vary. It's been as low as $50 or $25 a month, all the way up to $250 a month. It's never going to get paid. I don't have no victims. It's court fines. So I did all 8 with time getting bond and everything's around 8 years. I do speeches. I have 10 Toes podcasts that I do. And I just started my new clothing line. It's called Dope Boy Empire. The ex-agent in my case, Mike, we started the pig and the plug. He's the pig, the cop, I'm the plug. I started going on their law enforcement podcasts, Anti-Heroes, and he has Copville. I run a small construction business doing remodels and stuff like that because that's what, you know, I wasn't allowed to do much when I was in home confinement and getting off. So I'm just getting into growing into bigger things, but that is the moneymaker right now. Knowing the outcome, I wish I would have went harder at the game. I would have made more money and put more money away knowing the outcome.
How are you going to protect your daughter? What are you going to teach her?
It's scary you say that. I have conversations with her of truth. I don't hide nothing from her. That's a sore subject because the destruction and pain that I've done helped other people is my worst fear. That's going to come back and bite me, and that's going to be my thing. And the only thing I can do is continue to preach to her and explain to her my flaws, what I lost out on, what it's done to other people. Look at these people that made bad choices and went down the road of drugs. And who can I blame? Myself. The only thing I can tell people is, for all the young people out there, y'all got to quit idolizing these stories on Hollywood and these rappers and everything else, because it's all fun and games till you get the handcuffs put on you. I was that young guy that was watching those movies and the stories and seeing, oh, they only got 10 years and they moved tons of kilos of heroin, cocaine, and all this stuff. Oh, I can do that. I just justify it. I'd just be like, oh, millions for 5 years? Like, oh, sign me up. Well, guys, that's not the truth.
Hi, I'm a producer on How Crime Works. If you enjoyed this video, then please subscribe and comment below with more ideas of topics you'd like us to cover in this series.